Hello, I hope everyone is enjoying the cruise, and welcome to a naturalist presentation on the social systems of marine organisms by me, Jacob Gardner. I just wanted to start the presentation by breaking down what I'm going to talk about in the coming slides. So one of the goals I want you to understand is to understand interactions and social structures of a few different organisms. I'm going to go through two different organisms in this presentation, and I would like you to understand how they interact with other individuals of their own species and maybe of a different species. I would like you to come to appreciate how complex marine organism societies can be. A lot of people don't think that species of organisms can have societies other than humans, but I would like to appreciate I want you to learn how to appreciate that other species can have societies and how they function. And then I just want to really quickly just begin to explain issues that the species I'm going to present on will face. These are not black and white issues. There's a lot of different issues go into them, and I just want to briefly touch on what these issues are. So without further ado, I will begin the presentation on the humpback whale. This is a Maastricht's whale, other known as the baleen whales. They don't have teeth. So instead of having teeth, a lot of these whales will gulp feed, meaning that they'll ingest really small organisms, a lot of times in very large quantities. And these are different than their very close cousins, the Ontaukates. These are toothed whales. A lot of people, when you think of these are like dolphins, killer whales, false killer whales, things like that. Those species will be able to grab onto individual prey much easier because normally they're much smaller than the toothless whales. The humpback whale does live in small pods, usually less than 6, and a lot of times they will be solitary, except for when it comes time to breed. There's another different reasons this could happen. Support during the birth-giving process is possibly one. Being able to learn and teach young, newly birthed whales how to survive is also one. And then also, the humpback whale is a very loving parent. The male, or the father, of the new baby whale will not be in the picture. However, the female will tend to raise the baby whale for up to 3 years before it either breaks off and becomes its own individual whale and maybe start a new pod, or before it becomes another member of the small pod that they have during their breeding season. Like I said before, the father's not in the picture. A lot of times the female will solely take care of the baby whale, as you can see in the picture. Obviously the larger whale is the mother. And then they do migrate long distances to breed, and also to follow where the food is. There are some theories about why different types of whales will migrate to different places. Some are that the babies have a greater chance to survive in warmer water where they're less stressed, there's less storms, things like that. And then finally they can coordinate their feeding techniques if they're in the pod. A lot of times they can use things like bubbles, sounds. They can use a C4 to drive their food down and then back up into like a more manageable size. Even their pectoral fins. A lot of these species that they feed on are very small, and these whales are obviously very large. So they can use their pectoral fins to swat into the crowd or school of fish or krill and kind of break them apart. This makes it easier for the whale to take these large gulps and collect more individuals. And then some issues that the humpback whale and generally most large toothless whales are facing is that there's an overfishing of their most desired food species, and then also there are some places in the world where whales are hunted either for their meat or for their oil or their fat reserves. In either way, this is putting a large impact on how they're able to survive. My next species is a psillid. It is a type of seabird. This family of birds has the types of birds called the boobies and the gommets. These are both just generally medium-sized seabirds. They spend most of their time out at sea. They can dive for their food, things like that. The species I want to focus on is the blue-footed booby. I use this picture in particular because it shows off their very bright blue feet very well. In the next picture, you can see them in all their beauty. However, I wanted to really point out how they get their name. The blue-footed booby spends most of their time out at sea feeding. They can be mostly solitary during this time. However, there are instances and large periods of time where they can spend groups in more of a flock, where they can coordinate their dives into the water to catch fish. When they come on the land to breed, they can nest in very large colonies. And then when they do come to nest, individuals will mate for life, but they're not exclusive. So when you look at the blue-footed booby's feet, it's generally a good sign. The bluer the feet, the less pale their feet, the healthier the individual is. And if a healthy individual goes out and sees another healthy individual, they may have a little thing on the side where they can mate respectively. And then, as I said before, the blue-footed booby can dive for their food. They mostly eat kind of smallish fish up to like 6 inches in length. They can hunt in groups, but are normally solitary. A lot of times you can see these types of birds, the psillids. They can almost follow different species when they're hunting, like the dolphin. A lot of times these dolphins will be hunting, and a few individuals will be from a fish school can be broken off, and this will make it a lot easier for the booby to dive into the water and catch that individual. And then they can create very large colonies on land. There are safeties in numbers. Normally, there are no natural predators on land. However, at sea, there are a few. But more likely, it's because they find comfort in being around things that are similar to them. And then a few problems that this species can have is the overfishing of their favorite food species, habitat loss due to human incursions. A lot of times people can build structures on where they would like to nest, and this can greatly reduce the amount of area where they can rest and then decrease the total numbers of them. And then a lot of places where they have never had predators before, on like small islands in the South Pacific or in the Galapagos, humans have introduced species that will hunt them, such as like cats. The chicks of the birds are very susceptible to being preyed upon by the cats, as well as humans have been seen to hunt them and eat them for their meat. And that's my presentation. Thank you. These are my sources. I hope you guys all enjoy the cruise.